this is a powerful one this week. I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard these ideas, I was crying in relief and recognition. So we're going to talk about completing the stress cycle. And first of all, I'd like to start with this idea that emotions are physical. Emotions are physical. They have a location in your body. There are physical processes that are happening in your body when you experience an emotion. And that means they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I liken this to a tunnel, like an emotion, sadness, happiness, anger, etc. Like you go into the tunnel, you go along the tunnel, and then you should come out of the tunnel. Suffering and stress happens when we get stuck in the tunnel. So this idea of completing the stress cycle is how to get out of that tunnel, how to complete that physical reaction in your body of feeling an emotion. And I don't know how many of you that are watching this can relate, but living in a constant stress cycle feels shit, doesn't it? Like, genuinely it does. I get things like insomnia, sleeping problems, massive amounts of forgetfulness, and digestive discomfort because I'm in a constant state of fight or flight, high levels of anxiety. And has anyone ever pushed through to a deadline and then collapsed? Maybe even had to go to bed and been ill and things like this. It's because we were ill all along. That stress is living in our body and not being released. And then finally our immune system gets heard. It was sending those signals all along. And this was pretty mind-blowing for me, in that your body needs a physical stimulus to know that it's now safe. That makes sense, doesn't it? Because in our evolutionary past, our stresses, the things that were stressful to us, were things like, say, like a tiger running at us. And what would you do? You'd run away. And that process of moving, of running away and getting away from the tiger and then stopping is a physical stimulus to tell our body that we're now safe, and that it can start to down-regulate and move out of that fight or flight. But the problem with modern stresses, so what's stressing you in your life right now? Maybe things like filling in a tax return, or an argument with the kids or with your spouse or partner. Maybe it's the amount of social media and screen time. All of those modern stresses, they don't come with a physical stimulus. So our body has no way of knowing that it's now safe. So no wonder we live in a life that therefore feels physically ill and anxious, if our body is holding on and sticking in that tunnel. And so these are some ways that we can start to complete the stress cycle so that we can then move into a safe, relaxed state. And I've got 6 ideas for you. And as I said, like, game changer. It was like a light bulb moment when I was like, oh my God, this makes sense. Like, you might click submit on the tax return. Your mind might recognize that stress has gone away, but how does your body know? So get comfortable. We're going to go through these together. Start writing them down and thinking about where they already appear in your life and where can you put more in. So the first one is pretty obvious. It's movement. It's like the running away from the tiger, isn't it? But any sort of movement will do, no matter what you enjoy, therefore. So like walking, dancing, a workout, a run, like jigging around the kitchen. And one thing that I quite like to do if I don't have a chance to like put in a physical workout is shaking. So the sort of shaking where your limbs are heavy and bits of your body wobbling. Shaking is a great way of introducing a bit of sometimes unnoticeable movement, so people aren't aware that you're necessarily doing it, of releasing that stress from your body. So move. Number 2, affection. So affection, I'd say one of these is probably my most used techniques, like a long hug. So coming up to someone, keeping your center of gravity, so like not just collapsing into them, and then a long like 20-second plus hug, which is a long hug if you think about it. that is, it releases oxytocin. Again, it's a way of completing the stress cycle. And I know a lot of us haven't been able to be close to the people we love this year. So if you're in that situation, physical touch is still going to help your body release stress. So you can try things like self-soothing, where the physicals, rather than against clothes or skin to skin, your body has a natural way as you do that of finding the most soothing rhythm. You see parents do it with babies when they rub their back, that soothing motion, and hug yourself. So take your hands around your body, like close your eyes and breathe into that physical hug too. Next one. Positive social interaction, another way of completing the stress cycle. And I think this one sometimes can be a tricky one to navigate, because we can think, right, I'm going to go basically like complain and let it all out. But are you releasing, or are you using it to propagate that emotion, that stress? Like, are you using it to stay in the tunnel, or are you using it to move through? So the way that I'd suggest positive social interaction can work for you is that you share the emotion that you're feeling. I have noticed that I am feeling anxious. Talk about that experience. And if you are someone who's like receiving that, then this is the difficult thing. Can you sit with that person in that emotion without wanting to fix it for them, without wanting to put on the lights and suggest a way out, like positivity, gratitude? Can you sit with them in the darkness and let them know that that experience is okay, and validating those feelings or those experiences for that person? And you know, that can be like a loud positive social action where you vent and you release, and it can be a quiet contemplative way as well. Okay, how many have we done? We've done 3. So I have 3 more for you. And before I share those with you, then head to the description section, because there I've popped a load of links, and I'd love to share some free things with you. If you are loving this, then you're gonna love the free resources that I have for you to help you step into your full picture of health, like strength in mind, body and spirit. That's what I'm all about, okay? So go click on one of those links and I could be landing in your inbox in the next few minutes. Okay, so 3 more to go, ways to complete the stress cycle. The next one is breathing. So breathing, like as a yoga teacher, I'm such a fan, I'm so biased, but the science shows it's one of the most powerful down regulators of our body. Like, it's so interesting that our body can be stressed out, and then that propagates stressful thoughts, and then our breathing is interrupted, and then we feel more stress, and that feels more stressful thoughts, and we can start to shift out of that with conscious deep breaths where we move away from shallow chest breathing. And I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, when I get stressed, I actually stop breathing, which obviously then feeds into anxiety because my brain's like, oh my God, I need air. So actually consciously breathing back into the belly. It can be 5 deep breaths, 10 deep breaths, but a consistent, regular breath practice will do wonders for how you feel. Okay, number 5, creativity. And before you go, oh, I'm not creative, let me tell you that you are. Loads of us were creative as children, and sometimes we forget what we enjoyed being creative at. It doesn't need to be making something or dancing, and you are creative and you have an imagination. So yes, it might be like making something, drawing something, dancing around, but daydreaming can be a way to release stress and completing that stress cycle. And finally, laughter. Now, a little bit like the positive social interaction, be careful here, because we're not talking about the polite social laughter that many of us engage with, that's about like reassuring the other person in the social interaction, like keeping them comfortable and the discourse going. It's about the deep belly, spontaneous laugh that gets a little bit out of control and you're shaking a little bit with it. So deep laughing, like spontaneous, true laughter, is also an amazing way to release the stress. And then finally, I just want to close with this idea that we think we can breathe, but we don't breathe well. We think we can handle stress, but we don't handle it well. We think we can power through until we break down. We think we can be strong until we've been strong for too long, and we think we're okay until we're totally not. So everything that I just said, invest in it. I bet you're already doing some. So it's about being more intentional with how we use these tools to help us feel better. Because ultimately that's what we need in the world right now. People investing in themselves, feeling better, sharing this stuff and making change. I guess I'm stopping now then. That's annoying.